Hey everyone, welcome to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz. I am working on a flower granny square for a blanket that I'm doing right now, and I thought I'd go ahead and share a tutorial for you because it's such a fun and simple one, and they just whip up so quickly. The yarn I'm using for this is a StyleCraft Special DK. If you can't get your hands on that, a sport weight is, I would say, very, very similar and works just as well with this crochet hook size, which is a 3.75 millimeter. A 4 would also work well. To begin with, I'm going to do a magic circle or a magic ring. If you don't feel comfortable doing a magic ring, if it's a bit too fiddly for you, I would suggest just doing a chain 3 with a slip stitch to secure. That works just as well, and it's a very fine, tiny hole, and I think you'll be just as happy with that. Okay, but for this I am going to do the magic circle, and I do this by, crisscrossing over, going under and over, and securing with a chain 1. I'll do a separate video if anyone's interested. I think this is probably one of the easiest magic circles I've ever been able to find, and it works really well for me. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and do 8 single crochets, and I will put the UK equivalent in the description box below, but I will be using US terms for this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we pull the little tail to tighten. And now we're going to add a slip stitch in the first single crochet, if I could get my fingers to cooperate. There we go, it's very, very tight. Come on, both of you. Why don't you want to go in there? There we go, got it. Woot woot. And there we go, we're in. All right, and that is our first round. Okay, so now we're ready for round 2. And I am going to go in the top of any first chain stitch and pull some thread through. Now, there are many different ways to fasten on, and mine, to make sure this stays secure and it's quick and easy for me, is just to tie it. I don't know if that's taboo or not, but I do it. And for our first petal, what we're doing is we're making a popcorn stitch, and I think it's usually about 5 double crochets, but because my flower is so small, I'm only doing 3. But we start with a chain 3 to get the height of a double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And now in the same stitch, I'm going to do 2 more double crochets to make our first petal. 1, or I should say 2, 3. Yes, and if you were doing a bigger flower, then I would certainly do about 5 of these, but because mine's so tiny, I don't need it to be that large. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a loop from the first chain 3 and from the last double crochet and slip stitch them together to form the first petal. That's it. And then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to go into my next chain. This time I'm doing 3 double crochets. 1, whoops, let's do that again, that's ugly. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, that's better. 2, 3. Okay, so we're back to making our petal. We're going to go into the first top chain of that first double crochet, and we're taking the third, and now we're slip stitching them together to form another little petal, a little baby petal, and chain 2. Okay, we're going to keep doing that all the way around. I'm going to do one more and then pause. Okay, so we've reached the end of the round, and we should have 8 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do. I'm going to do my last chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the very first flower. And then we will be ready to fasten off. And I just like to make a big loop and pull my thread around or yarn around, and we're done. Okay, so round 3, now we are just doing a typical granny square, and this is when we just start zooming, because you sort of go on autopilot with this. I'm going to do green to make it look like leaves for this one. And hold on one moment. Okay, we're back in business. I had a little knot in my green, and so I need to get rid of that real quick. So yes, so we're going to start now with a typical granny square, and I am pulling through the green to get it started. Just get in any of these spaces, just start in any which one you like. I like to get away from my knots just to, you know, spread it out a little bit so I don't have all of my more difficult stitching areas in the same place. I'm going to fasten on with just a quick little tie, and we're going to chain 3 for our first cluster. This is a double crochet equivalent, just to get us started, just to get us to the height of a double crochet. Let me pull some of this yarn. Okay, and now we just whiz through and start making our corners of our granny. So we started with the first chain 3. Now we're going to do 2 more double crochets. 1, 2. I'm working on the first corner, so I'm going to chain 2. I like to make my little spaces tiny. And now I'm going to make the other side of my corner. Double crochet. 1, 2. My yarn's noisy. And can you hear that? 3. Okay, so that's my first corner. I'm not going to do a chain in between because this is tiny. I don't really need the space. I like to make my squares quite tight, but feel free to add a chain if you like. There are no rules to this. Some people put no chain, some put 1, some put 2. But I'm going to go straight into the next space. What we're doing is we're going to make a square that has, let me make sure I'm doing this right, yeah. We're going to do corner, cluster, corner, okay, all the way around. So now I'm doing my side piece, another cluster of 3 double crochets, okay, and now we're into another corner. That was sort of a side. Double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet coming, make sure I've got 3 there, yep, and so we have our first side completed. Okay, and we're nearly finished with this round. I'm going to do one more cluster. Again, I'm not doing any chains in between. I'm going right into that space to do my 3 clusters of double crochets. And now I'm going to, actually that's only 2, one more. Okay, now I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain I see to secure it, and we're done. And now it is time to fasten off and start our last round of our granny. And I am using this beautiful fuchsia. It's my favorite color. And we're just going to fasten on. We're going to find somewhere we don't want to be near that knot. So I'm going to start in this corner over here. And I'm just going to tie it in like before. We're going to start with a chain 3 to start our first double crochet to get to the right height. That's our first one. Now we're going to do our first cluster of the corner. My hands are a bit sweaty, so it's sticking. Okay. Chain 2 between. We're working on our first corner. Some people like to just do the 1/2 of the corner and finish in that same corner. I don't bother. I haven't found it necessary to do it that way. I just do this. It keeps me aware of where I am. Okay, no space in between. Again, I like to go straight into the next gap. You can tell where to go. And I yarn over and I do my double crochet 3. And I find my next gap and I yarn over and I start my next double crochet. I'm making this video assuming you know how to double crochet. If you don't, and I'm doing this too fast, you can slow down the video, I believe, in YouTube. But you know, I plan on doing a lot of these. I'm finding so many flower tutorials that I want to do, or granny squares I should say. And whoops, I'm talking too much and I'm not thinking. I'm back in my corner. Sorry, I'm a bit chatty. Okay, yarn over, I'm going into a corner. Doing my 3 clusters. I do plan on doing more of these tutorials, so if you see a square that you would like a visual to help you along, please let me know. I'm always on the lookout for granny squares, and this will help me too because I'm finding so many projects that I want to do, and I think this will help feed that need by doing just some squares on YouTube. I do have blankets that I'm working on, and if you check out my Instagram you can see what I'm working on daily. Okay, I'm back and I've done all my clusters and I'm getting ready to finish. So I find my first easy to find V here, or top. And normally, you know what, I don't know if this is right, but I usually ignore the first chain 3 because I can't get into that area very easily, and I go into the one next to it because that V is very simple to get in, and then that little slip there turns into the chain for that chain 3, and that always works out really well for me. Don't know if that's right, don't know if that's wrong, but it's not causing me any issues. Oops, the camera is. I'm sorry about that wiggle. But there we go. There's our very simple flower. And I just love it, and eventually it will go on this blanket as well. I think I'm going to do a few more rounds of the clusters for this granny blanket and then add these again. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye. Thanks.